What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down how smaller and bigger wide receivers can create separation. We're going to be talking about if you're a smaller guy, what you need to be able to do to create separation against man coverage, and how smaller wide receivers and bigger wide receivers play the game differently and the different concepts that you guys need to be emphasizing, okay? So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it gives you a few new things about if you're a smaller guy, how you guys can create space. If you're a bigger guy, how you can use your your size to your advantage to create separation, okay? So now, other thing, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you don't know what you need to be doing on a daily basis to improve these aspects that we cover in these videos, check out that very first link in the description below for our ultimate wide receiver training schedule. What it is, it's a daily 4-week long step-by-step schedule where we give you all the on-field drills you need to be doing and all the in-the-gym workouts you need to be doing. Every single workout, every single day is broken down with sets, repetitions, names of the exercises, and we walk you through everything and all the technique of each one. So check out that very first link in the description below if you want to get access to our daily schedule. Let's get started. So first route we're looking at here is this slant wrap from KJ Hill, right? Obviously a receiver who's on the smaller side, and we're going to talk about how this is textbook for what short guys need to do. So anytime you see press coverage as a short wide receiver, if you're a bigger dude, you obviously want to use your size to your advantage, right? If you're bigger than the DB, you're not afraid to hand fight, you're not afraid to get physical, you're not afraid to go at him, you're not afraid to attack him. And I'm not saying as a smaller guy we're afraid to attack this guy, but as a smaller guy, we need to use what I have to my advantage. I need to use my quickness, I need to use my side, I need to use that range, quote unquote, to my advantage to create space. So that's exactly what KJ Hill does. He kind of works this little slide into almost a diamond release, but the whole time he's operating in this like 45-degree angle space, right? Because as a smaller dude, we're not going to win a lot of hand fights out there. If I'm going up against a linebacker who's maybe, let's say I'm 5'9", and let's say I'm going up against a linebacker who's 6'2", and he's 250, I'm 185 pounds, I'm probably not going to win a hand fight with that guy. So anybody that tells you that, oh, if you're a smaller receiver, you just got to use your hands, that's what good does that advice do? That advice doesn't do me any good because I'm not going to win that fight. It's just simple. It's just not going to work out that way. So I have to beat him with speed and with quickness. So what Hill does a great job of here is he operates in this range. See how he does this little slide release, right? So this little slide, hesitation, skip, whatever you want to call it, that forces that DB to make a decision. That DB could either lunge at Hill and try to get hands, or he could stay disciplined and try to shuffle with him. And most likely he's going to shuffle with me because when a DB lunges at me and I'm in a good range to where he has to actually address me and lose his base, he's going to be off balance. So that range is super important for shorter guys. Being able to operate in this space right here where you're still attacking vertical, you're not going lateral, but you still maintain space from this DB, that's a space where we could create separation. And then obviously he hits this slide into a diamond release, those 3 steps to the outside, threatens him vertical. And as a shorter guy, if I could threaten a DB vertical, but not have him get hands on me, and I could keep this range to where he's forced to have to watch my hips and stay disciplined, I can create a lot of space because as a shorter guy, we're naturally quicker. So that's something that you have to emphasize as a shorter wide receiver. Anytime you're against a press DB, you have to utilize your range. Let's say maybe we rewind it, and let's say he's in a closer spot. Let's say he's like right up on that line of scrimmage, maybe going to try to get physical and jam. I can hit him with something like a split release where I still am able to keep that range to where he can't get hands. He's forced to stay disciplined and watch my hips, and I can get a read on him. It's all about keeping that range. When you're a shorter dude, quicker guy, you got to make sure you use your size, you use your range to your advantage. Because as a smaller dude, it's going to be a lot tougher to get hands on me if I'm open in space. But if I get too close with this slide release and I slide and I get way too close to him to where he could get hands, I lose this route, I lose that separation. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Hill getting him off that platform and operating in that range. That's one of the main things that short wide receivers have to do to create space, okay? So now we're going to look at one more clip here from Doug Baldwin, who's obviously a little bit on the smaller side. I believe he was only about 5'9", 5'10", going up against a DB who's a lot bigger than him. And we're going to talk about what you guys can do to always improve in this specific situation. Then we'll get into the bigger wide receivers and compare the two, okay? So now, on this route here, he's running a fade route versus a DB who wants to take away the outside. And this is something that a lot of physical wide receivers will do on the out, or physical DBs will do on the outside, because that's their goal in the coverage, is to get physical, to jam, and to reroute, especially if it's like cover 2 where we have a safety to the inside. He's trying to take away the outside shade and he's trying to force this receiver inside. He's going to get physical, all right? So now let's watch this full speed. So Baldwin does a great job of taking what the DB gives him right here. This is something you have to do as a short wide receiver. You have to trust yourself at the top of the route and at the stem to make a play, right? So when we come off the line, we obviously got some space to work. Now, this is a question that people ask a lot because I'll post a lot of videos on, oh, how do you beat a physical DB who likes to jam? Well, now how do I beat a physical DB who's off and waits for us and then he tries to jump us with our hands? That is how you beat that, is you have to have a high football IQ and understand that you're just trying to get a read on him based on the releases that you're doing. So no matter what, whether it's a fade route, whether it's a 10-yard out, we got to take what this DB gives me. I got to trust the stem and I have to trust the break point point when I'm running routes. So what Baldwin does here is he attacks that leverage of the DB, closes the space, acts up like he's setting to the outside. This DB's over anxious to jump to the outside. He probably has safety up to the inside. He wants to force Baldwin to the inside. So I'm not going to force the outside release as a shorter wide receiver. So many times shorter wide receivers, like, they take it too literal. They'll say like, oh, well, you said to beat him with my, or like use my strengths to my advantage, beat him with my quickness and speed. So they just try to run around guys. But you got to understand, a physical DB who's patient is going to get right into your hip, force you to that sideline, and completely reroute you off this route. So we have to take what he gives me. Having a high football IQ is something you have to do as a shorter wide receiver. As a shorter wide receiver, you need to do the details. And having a high football IQ, understanding how to react off of certain defensive looks, is the details of that position that are going to help you succeed, right? So you see how he's able to just put the brakes on, closes the distance, sets him up to the outside. He takes away the outside. That's fine. I'm going to take the inside release on a fade. I'm going to do the best I absolutely can to restack, get back over the top. Now, imagine if he had to run like a post route right here, he'd be wide open. Imagine if he had to run like, let's say he was out of the slot and he had to run a corner, he'd be wide open. Imagine if he had to run like maybe a 10-yard out, he could restack and break it off to the out. There's a lot of different things he could do right here based on that restack. So that's what I'm saying. Trust your stem, trust yourself at the top of the break to be able to get that separation. It's not necessarily about the line of scrimmage as a short wide receiver. But off the line of scrimmage, it's about keeping timing with that quarterback and setting traps for that DB. Let's watch the thing again, full speed right here by Doug Baldwin. Great job setting up this DB, getting a read on the DB, and taking what the DB gives him. Don't force the release. Don't force any release on any specific route. Take what that DB gives you, okay? All right, so now we're going to move on to receivers who are on the bigger side, right? Maybe not the fastest guys in the world, but they're bigger than the DB, and they might be a little bit stronger than the DB. So how can you guys play the game? And the most important thing that I would say, same thing for shorter wide receivers, but it's a little bit different, is you got to use your size to your advantage, right? So if you're a bigger wide receiver, guys usually don't want to get physical with you, right? The smaller DB, that 5'9" DB against a 6'2" wide receiver, is probably not going to try to jam you. It's probably not going to work, right? So as a wide receiver who's on the bigger side, I got to use that to my advantage. I'm not going to be playing that quickness game where I'm sliding into the space and making a move. I mean, you can if you're a big athletic dude, that'll probably help you a lot. And it's good to have those kind of tools in your back pocket. And that's what we'll look at next with this clip from Mike Evans. But on this one, this is a great example of using your size to your advantage. So let's watch the thing here. So this is what we call a shock release, right? So a shock release is one of the best things that you could do early in the game, set the tone, or maybe when you have to create separation on the goal line, whatever it is. But a shock release is literally where I go straight at this DB and I'm almost just giving him that quick shock where I'm just hitting him, right? So you see when Mims comes off the line here, he does this quick shock release, comes at him, quick shock. That's all it is, because when you square up that DB and you close the distance with him, chances are he's not going to be lunging at you, right? He's going to try to stay disciplined. He's going to trust his quickness. He knows that maybe you don't move as quick because you're a bigger dude, so he's going to try to stay disciplined and watch those hips. That's how those guys are going to be playing those bigger wide receivers. They're taught to stay disciplined. So as a receiver who's bigger on the bigger side, I'm going to try to get real physical. I'm going to try to knock him off that platform because maybe I don't have him in the quickness category, but I'm going to play to my strengths. My strengths are being physical, getting him off this thing, being able to create separation with my hands rather than creating separation with my feet. So this is the situation where you would want to have good hand combat. This is the situation where you want to be like tight with your hand fighting when you're a bigger guy than the DB, stronger than the DB, and you could get separation by using something like a simple shock release. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. So make sure bigger wide receivers, we use my strength to my advantage when I'm in these press situations, okay? So now, this is a great example of what everything a bigger wide receiver should build their route running off of, right? So now, this last thing we're going to cover today, as a bigger wide receiver, you are always a threat downfield, no matter what, whether you're on the 50-yard line, whether you're on the opposite 10-yard line, or whether you are in the red zone, especially in the red zone, you are going to be a vertical threat. There is always going to be a threat that you're going to run to this back pylon and run a quick fade, and we're going to hit you with the jump ball. So if I can sell that as a wide receiver, that opens up a lot of moves for me. So this route right here is just a straight up fade by Mike Evans, right? He's just running right to that back corner. He gets this guy by his step, and you see just easy target for Brady to throw this ball. You just have to throw this thing in the vicinity of Mike Evans, and he's going to come down with this catch and make this play. So what does this set up, right? Because again, this DB now that we ran him with that fade, he's going to be over anxious. He does not want that to happen twice. So maybe a couple times I hit him with this exact same release. I give him this little hesitation, and now maybe I take off to the outside, but instead of running a fade, maybe I'm running a diamond release slant. Let's count his steps. That's his first step, second step, bam. Maybe he breaks it off right on that third step right there, and you see how much the DB's committed, how much he's committed to that fade, because we are always a vertical threat here when I'm a wide receiver in the red zone and when I'm a bigger wide receiver. So we have to make sure, fellas, as a bigger wide receiver, we are comfortable selling fade. We are comfortable making all of my releases that I do build off of a fade and build off of me selling vertical. vertical. Okay, so that's the main advice that I could give you, bigger wide receivers. Make sure that we're not afraid to get physical. Use your size to your advantage, and use that you are a vertical threat to your advantage when picking a release and when setting up a DB. Let's watch thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Evans being patient with the release and getting up to that vertical. That's going to set the tone for so many other routes during the game because that DB will not forget that he got beat on that fade. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Get back to you as soon as I possibly can. I always appreciate the feedback. It's always great hearing from you guys as well. And again, fellas, if you want our daily ultimate wide receiver gym and field training schedule, everything wide receivers need to do broken down to a step-by-step daily schedule with sets, repetitions, all the above, check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.